your best, 'cause inside you knew. In one shining moment, you reached for the sky. In one shining moment, you knew, yeah. In one shining moment, you're willing to try. In one shining moment, you knew. One shining moment.
A century of futility is forgotten. The Indiana Hoosiers are the kings of college football.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Hill. With me, as always, is Austin Wader. And it's time, if you've been waiting patiently all college football season, the moment is here.
Yes.
The Bold Take Podcast College Football Awards, they are officially here. We're going to dive into them. We're going to talk about all the ups and the downs of this past college football season, where our hearts lie with certain players, certain teams, and of course, we'll get to that coveted, more valuable than the Heisman Trophy.
Absolutely.
Bold Take Podcast, Michael Penix Jr., College Football Player of the Year. I'm so excited. It was another fun finish here, crunching the numbers. We'll get into all the ups and the downs and all the flip-flopping that went on with the top four, how it all changed, and even a completely different top 10 landscape than what we had before. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it. But first off, let's talk about our top 10 players of bowl season. These awards, just like kind of our players of the week every week,
Yep.
These nominations went towards the player of the year totals, as well as when we get into the top 10 college football playoff players from this past season. Those also went towards player of the year votes. But no online votes like we do with the player of the weeks, if you're familiar with that concept from last year. Same thing that we're doing this year. But go ahead and kick us off with your top 10 players of bowl season. A little shout out to the guys who actually stuck around and played bowl games. And not to throw a jab at my own team, but also to the teams that played in bowl season and decided not to sit out of their bowl games.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like right before I say, let me say I'm always excited. This is everyone's favorite episode. It was funny, Austin. So funny story. I guess I never told you this. It was last year. I was doing basketball at Bologna, and we're setting up equipment and stuff. And this is like right after college football season ended. And there's these like 8th and 9th grade Bologna kids like, wait a minute, are you Austin? I was like, yeah. They're like, yeah, we listened to the Bold Take podcast. When's the college football awards? I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. I can't handle this pressure right now. So to tell you, it's always fun to do these awards. But yeah, number 10 for me, had to get my guy in here, Damon Williams Jr., even though he's kind of, let's not talk about what happened after bowl season and that whole fiasco there at Washington. But had a great game against Boise State to kick it off, over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Had to show him some love. I loved Washington all season long, so I knew they were going to be on my list. Number 9, Micah Alahado and Luke Weaver, the combination of the quarterbacks of Hawaii. If you know that Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve, it was a special treat to watch. You had Alahado lead them on a great comeback. He gets injured, and Luke Weaver, the backup, comes in and makes some clutch throws down the field to give them the win over Cal in my personal favorite bowl game of all the bowl season. But obviously we're different on – everyone has different opinions on it, but that was my personal favorite. Number 8, got to go with a guy who is now a Miami Hurricane now. Thought he was staying put, but that's Darian Mensah. What he did against the Sun Devils in the Sun Bowl, over 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, an interception. I mean, need I say more? Miami's getting another phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal quarterback on their roster next year, so deserves some love. Number 7 on my list, had to show some love to a guy. I mean, this stat line is just insane for running back Jalen Buckley, the running back from Western Michigan. 8 carries, 174 yards. In case you don't know the
Oh,
math, ladies and gentlemen, that's nearly 22 yards a carry in the bowl game for them over in their win over Kennesaw State. He had a rushing touchdown as well in it, so it was really hard for me not to put that on the list. And you know what? I was not done in this game. Had another one from Western Michigan, number 6 on my list. Rodney McGraw, the defensive lineman, 2.5 sacks in the game, 2 forced fumbles as well. Had to show him some love. And Western Michigan from their throttling, and I mean their absolute throttling of Kennesaw State. I don't think Kennesaw deserved that as a biased one rooting for Kennesaw in that game, but they went out and surely gave it to them. Next one on my list, we're going back to the Duke Blue Devils and wide receiver Keyshawn Brown. What a performance he had. 10 catches, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darian Mensah was targeting him all day long. The sophomore, the 5'8 sophomore, it's not a big wide receiver, had a field day in the game, so wanted to give him some love. Next one on my list, got to go with a team that we love, and that's UTSA, led by Owen McCown. What a performance he had, nearly 300 yards in their win over, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I believe it was Florida International, if I remember correctly. But over 300, nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It feels like Owen McCown's been around for like forever. At least to me, it's felt like
Agreed.
it. You know, I mean, never forget Frank Harris Jr., the quarterback before Owen McCown. I wonder how many people actually remember the name Frank Harris Jr. If you do, comment on this video if you remember the UTSA legend that was there. Shoot, what felt like 10 years at least is what it felt like. But getting to my top 3, number 3, not many guys go into a bowl game and get 3 sacks and a forced fumble, and that's what Aiden Hubbard did for Northwestern in their win over Central Michigan. I mean, just flat out got after the quarterback, made his day absolutely miserable. Just complete nightmare for him, and I had to show him some love. Number 2, close one here. Had to show some love to a guy that's been one of your personal favorites, and that's Caleb Hawkins. 198 yards in their win over San Diego State in the, I think it was, New Mexico Bowl, because I remember our whole me learning Albuquerque was not the capital of New Mexico fiasco from that one. I do remember that.
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, I'm not going to lie. If you would have been like, hey, so do you know what it is now? I probably would have been like, I know it's not Albuquerque. I can tell you it's not Albuquerque.
I figured you might need a reminder.
So thank you for that. But number 1 is a guy I was a fan of all year long, and he went out in style, at least in bowl season. Devon Dampier in Utah's win over Nebraska, 19 of 31, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Oh, I'm sorry. That's just through the air. Also had 19 carries, 148 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns to go along with it. So, to me, that was my personal favorite and most dominant performance of bowl season. But all these guys are worthy, and let us hope and continue to have some great bowl season memories, even though no matter how much people are trying to say bowl games don't matter, they matter to us here at the Bold Take Podcast.
Yeah, I'm with you. And a great list. You've got a lot of good guys on there. We've got some overlap on this list, but
All right.
I want to say it, man. I recognize the error of my ways. I just got so lost in the big explosive stat lines of bowl season that I have exclusively 10 offensive players. And I think next year we'll talk about, I think I'll add in maybe a top 5 or a top 10 defensive players.
Maybe what we do is we go like top 5 offensive performances, top 5 defensive, something along those lines.
Because I think that there were some awesome, and I had in my notes as I was filling this out and making this out, I did have defensive guys. But I just love some of these big offensive stat lines. It's kind of hard for me to turn some of those down when I see some of these stat lines. So purely offensive and some love for some guys that we haven't really gotten a huge chance to shout out a ton this year. But starting at number 10, a guy who you talked about in your list and a guy who really started to catch on at the end of this college football season. He was in a couple of Bold Take Podcast Player of the Week votes near the end of the season. And then he comes into both of our lists in bowl season here. At number 10, I've got Jalen Buckley. And like you said, the stats speak for themselves. 174 yards to 1 rushing touchdown. Truly a dominant performance, especially on just the 8 carries, like you said. But at number 9, a guy you didn't mention, Puffley Ashlock, wide receiver from Hawaii. You talked about the explosive game the offense had. This was 123 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, a really lethal performance. When they needed a big catch, this was the guy they went to. Going to another wide receiver at ECU, Anthony Smith, 156 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns as well. So a couple of huge, explosive receiving performances that I wanted to shout out there. Then number 7, a guy I've really enjoyed watching this year, very close to being in my surprise player category, and that was Connor Weigman
Hey,
at
yeah.
Houston. He had a really good season this year, and 236 passing yard, 4 passing touchdown bowl game here. He's really found his rhythm in this Houston offense. And like you and I kind of talked about when we talked about him near the end of the regular season, Connor Weigman's got another year or two of eligibility, surprisingly. So he'll be back, looks like for Houston, playing quarterback again. And again, I love this. He seems like kind of the perfect fit in this offense. They figured out how to get the most out of Connor Weigman and minimize the mistakes. He really looked awesome this season. And number 6, another quarterback I had a blast cheering for and watching this year as a Red Wolf is Jalen Rayner. And he went out swinging 288 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. A phenomenal performance. At number 5, I have Darian Mensah here from Duke. Like you said, 327 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. What a way to close out your season. What a little audition tape for the national championship runner-up. Yeah, Miami's got a good one. He's going to be an icon. And also, Darian Mensah's situation opens up a lot of questions about the college football transfer portal that you and I will maybe hit a little bit this offseason when we've got some time. Because, yeah, this is it sets an interesting precedent, and maybe we need to see some reform in some way. But at number 4, all-time name team guy, can't believe you actually left him out of your list. God's Power Nawe, running back from Army. I'm probably not saying that last name right, but I took my best crack at it. 171 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a really just awesome Army offensive performance. I wanted to highlight their biggest and best performer. At number 3, another guy that you talked about, like you said, easily became one of my favorite players over the college football season. Excited to see what he does in Stillwater next season. Caleb Hawkins, 198 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. We're talking about the leading. I don't know if he's a leading rusher, but he had the most rushing touchdowns this season. The epitome, and just a freshman. He is going to be an unbelievable force for years to come. I mean, we at least get 2 more years of this guy in college football, which I can't even believe. Absolutely dominant performance. Caleb Hawkins by number 3. And number 2, again, I'm buying in on the hype. This game pushes it over the edge. This will be, as we get closer to college football season, this will be Vegas's number 1 Heisman favorite in the preseason. Arch Manning, 221 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. I know what you're saying. Oh, you had some bigger passing numbers down there. I'm really not finished, though. 155 rushing yards and 2 more rushing touchdowns. Truly dominant, dual threat performance. You just think, man, you don't see performances like that from a quarterback very often. How is this not number 1? Well, because we saw one that was just a little bit better, and you talked about it at your number 1. Devin Dampier, 310 passing yards, the 2 passing touchdowns, 148 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, we're talking about this guy's responsible for 30 yards or 30 points completely on his own.
Oh, my gosh.
That's unbelievable rate. Devin Dampier was just such a fun guy to watch this year, especially after Cam Rising, unfortunately hanging it up, a Bold Take podcast favorite. The time finally ran out, and his successor was awesome this season. So those are our top 10 players of bowl season. But let's swing it to the top 10 players of the college football playoff. I expect we'll see some more overlap, but I'm excited to hear about some of your guys. I saw some guys on your list that I was like, I'm glad these guys are getting a shout out, because even though they didn't make my list, they're deserving.
Yeah, so a couple. Number 10, I had to go with Elijah Surratt from Indiana, one of the star wide receivers for the Hoosiers in there. Quest all the way to the national championship, had to show him some love, had some touchdowns in the game. Number 9, One that I'm not gonna lie, this is one I had to do a little digging for because I wanted to show a lot more love to Ole Miss than just the main two guys that are going to be on my list down the line.
Yeah.
But I wanted to show him some love, and that was Dazon Stribling, the wide receiver for Ole Miss, had over 100 yards in multiple games for the Rebels during their playoff run. I mean, just a phenomenal guy. I mean, yeah, 122 yards against Georgia, 80 against Tulane, had nearly 80 against Miami as well. Great receiver for him. Number 8, there's not many times I'm going to put a guy who played only one game and lost in it on here, but I had to show him some love. David Bailey from Texas Tech. If you watch that Texas Tech-Oregon game, this man did everything in his power possible to help Texas Tech win this game, and they just unfortunately didn't really get much help from anybody else. So I wanted to show him some love for a guy who I feel very confident is going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Very, very, very confident. All right, let's head to my running back section. I might as well just call this the running back section of my rankings because it is 3 straight running backs. Next up on the list, we got Kalon Black from Indiana. Just a consistent back for him. A guy that really took over as the main back and really dominated on the ground whenever Fernando needed a bit of a break, to be able to breathe out there. So he's my number 7. Number 6 guy, Austin, it's one of your favorites, Kewan Lacey. What a season he had. I came into this playoff and I said, hey, Ole Miss needs to be able to run the ball to win these games. 88 yards, a touchdown against Tulane, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns against Georgia, 103 yards and a 73-yard touchdown against Miami. I think it's safe to say they ran the ball pretty good. If I do say so myself, at least that's just me though.
Yeah.
And then number 5 on my list, I went with Mark Fletcher from Miami. Truly, I think one of the more underrated pieces on that Miami team during this whole playoff run behind some of the other guys. 172 yards rushing against A&M, 90 against Ohio State, 133 against Ole Miss, 112 against this Indiana defense, and 2 touchdowns. So he's a guy that deserves love. But let's get to these main top 4. And I mean, my gosh, I'm not going to lie. This top 4, Austin, took me about 0.5 seconds when I was making my list. This top 4 took me about 0.5 seconds. Number 4, had to show some love to a guy who, let's just say like it is, we're going to talk about him in a little bit for a certain award, if I do say so myself, Malachi Toney. The fact that we get to watch this guy, kind of like you hinted at with Caleb Hawkins, the fact that we get 2 more years at least of this guy in college football is a dangerous thing to behold because he was a problem all college football playoff long, especially for Indiana in that national championship. Number 3, and honestly, I was not going to lie, I was tempted to put him at number 1, but I feel like there's a guy that really belonged at number 1 during this, so I had to put him there. Number 3, I got Trinidad Chambliss. Who knows what his future is? He went to the Ole Miss judge and got his 6th year of eligibility, even though the NCAA denied it. Who the frick knows if he's playing next year or if he's not? I have no idea. But what I do know is the man balled the frick out during the college football playoff. Just watch that Georgia and Miami tape. I mean, just chef's kiss. That was a quarterback I looked at and said, that's a guy that should go in the first round. And he might go in the first round next year if he does play this next year in college football. We'll see. Number 2, easily, without a shadow of a doubt, the best player on the defensive side of the ball in this entire college football playoff, Ruben Bain Jr. This man, and this goes just for all this season too, obviously we'll dive into that in a little bit. The man was a monster in the college football playoff. Let's just take a look at it. 3 sacks against A&M. Not bad. Let's see what else. Added a couple more tackles for loss and another sack against Ohio State. Against Ole Miss, added some more pressures as well as another tackle for loss. And then got after Indiana and Fernando Mendoza all night long in that national championship. Just without a shadow of a doubt, the best defensive player this year in college football. But Austin, we all know who number 1 is. And it's like whenever I saw it, it was like there was something in the air that night. That the stars were bright. Fernando Mendoza's number 1. It's hard not to put this guy as the best story in college football this year. And that play in the national championship, which is a play that will live on in infamy, not just in Indiana, but in the history of college football. The play is going to live on forever, and he rightfully deserved it. The Heisman Trophy winner, number one player of the playoff by far.
Yeah, great list and some great players. I'm gonna throw some other names at you as well. But your take about Trinidad Chambliss, I'll spoil it. It's exactly funny. I also have him sitting in exactly 3. But I did also have feelings that, had it not been for Fernando Mendoza, he would be the number.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
he really
Absolutely.
was. It's at times he was the best player that's ever graced a college football field with the way he played in this postseason. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and start at number 10. And I wanted to give some love to Gunnar Stockton. This is bottom section is kind of some of my one and done guys here.
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar Stockton had an absolutely gutsy performance. Look, a year ago when Notre Dame beat the brakes off of Georgia, and Gunnar Stockton made a lot of mistakes, caved into pressure. I felt terrible about Georgia's offseason. I was like, what are they going to do? And then Carson Beck leaves, and you're like, well, now they're kind of stuck with Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah.
What happens next for Georgia? This year, this wasn't the case. Him and Trinidad Chambliss put up a battle for the ages down the line in this game. He made pretty much no mistakes in this game, took care of the ball, was just a completely different player. I feel so confident coming into next season what Georgia can look like with him at the helm. This was an exciting finish, and it really is unfortunate because if Georgia wins this game, yeah, Gunnar Stockton, even if he has like a so-so second game, probably goes up this list for winning that duel. But unfortunately, he's on the losing end. At number 9, I went with Caleb Downs from Ohio State. 2 forced fumbles in that game against Miami. Kind of the do-it-all, return man, explosive safety, forcing fumbles, making plays. Guy we're talking about could legitimately be a top 10 pick in this year's NFL draft as a safety. You don't see a lot of secondary guys usually creep
I mean,
up.
what? Kyle Hamilton went, and we thought Kyle Hamilton was the best safety. He went, what, 14th in the draft,
14,
something around there?
So, yeah, we'll see, but he does so much that I think it would be hard not to talk about getting Caleb Downs in this draft. Number 8, talk about an exciting freshman who just barely missed the cut on my freshman list. Brandon Finley Jr., the corner from Oregon, 2 interceptions in that game against Texas Tech. He really had a phenomenal season and an awesome college football playoff, really showing out with some of these other big names. At number 7, a big-time freshman we talked about last year, kind of had a slow season, banged up at times, but in his one college football playoff game, he made it happen. And so at number 7, I'm going to give Jeremiah Smith some love. He was the hero of last year's college football playoff. He played out of his mind again in that first. You look at the stats in this game from Jeremiah Smith, from Caleb Downs, and you wonder, how did Ohio State lose this game? Because their best players played so well. At number 6, I went with a guy I've been cheering on all season. That was Kawan Lacey at Ole Miss. Played out of his mind, like you said. He stepped up and played well in this college football playoff, and that was while playing hurt. Which it kind of reminded me a lot of Jeremiah Love's run last year. He comes into the college football playoff banged up. We're wondering, he's a huge part of this team's offense. What's he going to do? And he plays his best football banged up, and it makes you think, wow, if this guy's 100%, could he have done even more? You think about that play with Jeremiah Love last year, just to reminisce on it. In the Penn State game, it took about 20 guys, and they still couldn't get him down as he pushed through.
One of the greatest runs still to this day that I've ever seen. Still.
I know, and he's doing all that on like a bad hamstring. So unbelievable stuff. I thought the same thing about that huge 70-yard touchdown that Kawan Lacey broke off, where you're like, wow, he's injured and he's just tearing through holes in the defense and taking off like that. At number 5, I had to go with, a guy who really didn't do much during the regular season, but was a hero in this postseason, Charlie Becker from Iowa or Indiana. He played so well in the college football playoff. The back shoulder fade was just unstoppable between him and Fernando Mendoza. think over 80 receiving yards in every college football playoff game.
And wasn't he the
For
one that made
him.
the big catches on fourth down on that
Yes, he
iconic
had.
Indiana drive?
Yeah, he had that. He had that huge catch on fourth down before the Mendoza touchdown run on the next fourth down.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He made the big plays in the national championship. He made the big plays throughout the college football playoff, and I wanted to give him a nod. At number 4, I went with Ruben Bain here. Like you said, he was easily the best defensive presence in the entire college football playoff. He really kind of did it all. I've listed him as an edge here, but he dropped back into coverage and made some great plays throughout the whole season in the college football playoff. And he does such a great job creating pressure on the quarterback. He's kind of a really exciting prospect. I'm excited to see where he ends up. And number 3, I already spoiled it. Trinidad Chambliss made some of the best throws you've ever seen. Made one of the best, most accurate Hail Mary throws in the history of college football, even though it didn't result in a touchdown. And number 2, this guy became the heart and soul of the Miami team. Took the pressure off of Carson Beck all game long. I won Mark Fletcher. I mean, this guy had an all right regular season. He was pretty good, but he stepped it up. He was the best player on offense for Miami in this college football playoff. He made the big plays. He controlled the tempo. He took the pressure off the passing game. He allowed Carson Beck to be able to play nearly mistake-free football for most of this college football playoff because defenses had to worry about where Mark Fletcher was.
Yeah.
It was an awesome performance. But number 1, this guy could have thrown for negative 1,000 yards in this college football playoff, 20 interceptions, and if he still had that 1 fourth down run, that's all he needed to be the best player of this college football playoff. But of course, that's not the case. He has a great completion percentage. He has, I don't know, 15 passing touchdowns in this college football playoff, it felt like. The yardage was great. He did what he had to do. And of course, he had the signature play from this college football season, one that will not soon be forgotten. Fernando Mendoza is my number 1 player of the college football playoff.
So he had, I'm looking at his stats. Let's just look at him against Bama. 14 of 16, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 17 of 20 versus Oregon, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 16 of 27 against Miami. Didn't have a passing touchdown, but of course, he did something a little bit more iconic for the national championship. So the man was efficient. Didn't turn the football over this entire national championship run.
Yeah, was awesome. So an awesome college football playoff, awesome bowl season. Postseason lived up to the hype, as always. And I had some people that I talked with, some friends, that say, oh, they worry about the expansion of the college football playoff. They worry about the inclusion of more players because what are the chances that guys sit out? The more teams you had, the more players you had, the guys don't want to play postseason football when they feel like they're kind of settled into a draft spot. And I say this, sure, you're right. But before the college football playoff, we had guys sitting out. Christian McCaffrey sits out the Sun Bowl.
I saw you liked my repost about that.
Yes.
I saw you like that.
We've had guys sitting out for a while. This is nothing new. You're not going to be able to change that. Guys are going to make the decisions that are best for them, and I think it's best to embrace it. But when you talk about playing for a national championship, it's a dream everybody has growing up watching college football, maybe even playing football. And so for the guys that made college football, for the most part, I think those guys are going to sit in. I can't think of any big-name player that opted out of the college football playoff.
No, me either.
But even if that was the case, I think the big thing that I like with the expanded playoff is what it does for the guys who maybe we don't know where they're going to end up. Riley Leonard a year ago, he had a good season as Notre Dame's quarterback, but that postseason run, that first drive against Ohio State in the national championship, that got NFL's team's eyes, and he ended up being what, a fourth or fifth round pick, I believe.
Yeah. Hey, here's another example. Jack Sawyer. Look what he did for Ohio State in the playoff last year. They don't beat Texas without him.
Yeah, no kidding. Another guy that I want to talk about from this year, Carson Beck. We've had the concerns. We've had the question mark. Had Carson Beck's season ended, not going to the ACC championship, 4-team playoff, or even a BCS 2-team playoff, maybe he plays in the bowl game. Probably just because he's in his 6th or 7th year of college football. But, that's it. That's it. Carson Beck's probably undrafted free agent, maybe a seventh round pick. And, we're saying, hey, he could be a good backup. Maybe if you want to
Yep.
just throw him out there a little bit, what happens? And look, I'm not saying he's the future of anybody's franchise, but you can't look at what he did in this college
Mhm.
football playoff and say that it didn't improve his draft stock. It did nothing but help Carson Beck. I think there's so much more gain than loss, whether it's from the college football perspective of being able to win the national championship and have your name etched in college
Yeah.
football history for the rest of time, or as far as looking at your future, whether you're a top prospect or a guy who's at the bottom, you have a good college football playoff, you make a good deep run to the national championship, and you could find yourself moving up people's draft boards. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's so important. But I'm ready to talk about some of these awards from
Yeah.
this year. How about you?
I am ready. Let's dive into them.
All right. Criteria for these awards. We just named off our top three in each category for the year. And then, fortunately, no real ties to break at the top. There weren't any ties to break at the top. So it didn't really leave room for question here. But let's start with the low. Disappointing team of this past college football season. There are some teams that come to mind. We both had the same three teams come to mind, but go ahead and lay it out there for us. Your top three most disappointing teams.
So I think it's fair. Let's start with the one that, I'm rooting for the award because it would mean I got a preseason prediction correct, which never happens ever. So I'll root for South Carolina. This was a team that, again, top 15 in the preseason, a disappointing 4-8 season. And my worries coming into the year were, okay, Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart are there. Who's going to help those guys out? And we ultimately saw that unfortunately happen down the stretch for South Carolina. Played in a lot of close games. They just couldn't finish them, and that's ultimately what cost them. The good news for South Carolina, both those guys are back next year. Hope you do good in the portal and get one more chance with them. But this was a disappointing year. Next up are the top two teams that we talked about the entire preseason. Penn State was one that me and you obviously picked to win the national championship. Let's just say it like it is. But I will give Penn State this. Did they have the rough start to the season? Lose to UCLA, lose to Northwestern, this and that. Yeah, they had a great finish to the end of the year with the interim coaching staff coming in. I think they won 3 or 4 in a row to end the year, including their bowl game win over this disappointing team, which is the team you said verbatim at the start. I went back and watched because I thought I remember you saying it. You literally said start of the year. If Clemson does not win the ACC, they are the most disappointing team in college football this year. And would you look at that? Clemson barely made a bowl game, got blown out by Penn State, and never even had a shot. I mean, this year they were playing from behind. They had a couple good wins to finish through the year. At Louisville was a good one, but I mean, these are clear cut away three top teams. I guess some ones you can mention. I was curious. I was tempted to put Texas, but they at least finished with a winning record and were in conversation for the college football playoff at least a little bit, even though they were the number one team. And if I had to guess another one that I was close to picking, was tempted with North Carolina because I swear everyone hyped up the Bill Belichick hype train, and we know that thing went off went off the track in record time, if I do say so.
Yeah. Same three teams, same exact order with you here. At number three, I went with South Carolina. This is the team that I picked to be the most surprising team this season. I thought with Sellers, with Dylan Stewart, hopefully Nick Harbor kind of coming into his own, that this team would find a way to make some noise in the SEC, and that just didn't happen. They were, like you said, they were close. But it was really the guys besides those three that I just named
Yep.
that didn't really step up and deliver. The rest of the team just wasn't there. Then at number two, have Penn State here. And one of the big things for me with Penn State was that Drew Aller gets injured, and that's kind of what messes everything up. I know Franklin, I think, was fired like right before, like the week before he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what really kind of said, oh, yeah, it's going to be really hard to recover from that. And so it's kind of harder to hold that against them. And then, like you said, the way they finished, And longtime listeners, Trevor Renfro, Jaden Lazuski, and Ethan Rocker, sitting down having a conversation with these guys. We were watching the Clemson Penn State game for the bowl game, and I said, this is going to help go a long way in deciding which team is going to be my most disappointing team when we look back at the end of the season, because these are two teams that have been a disappointment. And if the loser of the, I mean, you might as well call it the disappointing team bowl. Loser of that game was going to have some explaining to do. But like you said, I didn't forget those words that I uttered at the beginning of the season. And Clemson not winning the ACC was going to hurt them in a big way, with the way they were ranked, with the way Dabo Swinney was talking. This team needed to make something happen with the way we talked about Cade Klubnik, and it just didn't happen. And I maybe would have cut this team some slack if Georgia Tech had kept the momentum, or Miami had kept the momentum from the beginning of the season, or maybe even Virginia, and one of those teams had won the ACC. But the 5-loss Duke Blue Devils come through, and not to knock them for the way they finished their season, they took advantage of an opportunity,
Right.
got to a bowl game, won their bowl game. This is no jab at Duke, but a 5-loss team winning the conference that Clemson was supposed to just run, control, compete for a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is probably the most disappointing team we've seen since we started doing the college football award show. This is shameful.
I mean, it feels like every single year before this, we just did North Carolina under Mac Brown, because it felt like North Carolina was going to be a good team every single year. So I don't know, maybe we should have a bias against like hyped ACC teams or something. I don't know.
It's strange what's happening. But
don't worry, Clemson's going to be good next year, Austin. They got a new OC.
Yeah, it was Garrett Riley's fault, Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, exactly. All his fault. Bring back Chad Morris. That's going to solve everything.
That'll solve their problem. So we'll see what happens with the old Clemson. But they clock in easily, unanimously, as the most disappointing team of the college football season. But let's swing it back towards the positive for the rest of this award show. We've got the most surprising team of this season. And who are your three squads here?
So number 3, and it's weird because, I kind of hoped it would happen, but it was still a surprise. Had to show some love to Vandy. 10-win season. Are you freaking kidding me? It's just, I mean, like I said all year long, that's just something we never envisioned seeing like actually happen. Like we thought the hype for Vandy was gone whenever James Franklin left, and we thought our only hopes of seeing Vandy with 10 or more wins was on the college football video games. That was our only hope.
Yeah.
But then Diego Pavi, Eli Stowers, Clark Lee, they all come in after a promising year last year. I think me and you both said in the preseason, we're like, yeah, this team's talented, but this schedule is just so tough. I don't know if they can win more than 7, maybe 8 games. And they went out and got double-digit victories, and their losses this year were two very talented teams in the top 25 that they narrowly lost to. So, had to show them love. Number 2 could have easily been number 1 if it wasn't for the one that's my number 1 and second. That's North Texas. I mean, who the heck saw what magic North Texas had on offense this year? The most fun offense to watch in all of college football by far. Drew Messamaker, Caleb, I mean, this team was all over. It was just such a fun team to watch. And I know it ultimately ended in them not making the playoff, therefore maybe not some people's top surprising team. But they just surprised me because, I mean, I never thought I'd be this season, I would be sitting on my couch thinking, man, I'm going to watch North Texas play because they're so much fun to watch. And that's what this year was. But number 1 surprise team of the year, by far, and they would have been the unanimous one had they won the ACC, it's the Virginia Cavaliers. I mean, I remember entering this season, Tony Elliott was on the hot seat for what, and people were wondering, is this just going to be another failed coach at Virginia? But they took advantage of this ACC, and they ran with it all the way to the ACC championship before they lost to Duke. But bounced back with a win over Missouri in their bowl game, a double-digit win season for Virginia, and that's just bizarre to tell me that Virginia and Vanderbilt would both be double-digit win teams. Some great surprise teams, but those are the top 3 I went with, but there's plenty of other good candidates.
Yeah, I was with you in number 3. I went with Vanderbilt. It was a fun, exciting season. The only reason they weren't higher, in my opinion, is because there was a little bit of kind of the vibe out there after
Right.
some of the wins they had last season. The vibe was there, and it was like, yeah, it was still a shocker to see the 10 wins. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they definitely had more excitement than a Vandy's team had in some time. Um, at number two, I went with the Virginia Cavaliers. I'm with you. This was an awesome, exciting, fun season for them, and it was unexpected. They absolutely took advantage of a weaker ACC this year. But at number one, I know they kind of tailed off at the end, and maybe it's a little bit of bias for me, but I gave Georgia Tech the nod here. I
Okay.
like the season that they had. I think they played really good football. I know it kind of folded at the end of the season. But Georgia Tech played well. I wanted to give them a shout out and give them some love. But coming in, the most surprising team of the season with the votes, with the points accumulated, the Virginia Cavaliers, the Bull Take Podcast, surprise team of the year.
Yeah. Imagine if you would have said that at the start of the year. I mean, look at you, be like, "Are you nuts?" I mean,
Yeah, no
just
kidding.
not a chance we thought that was going to happen at all.
But take us into keeping on the theme of surprises. The surprise player of the year, the player who came out of nowhere and dropped our jaws. Who do you got?
So go ahead and tell you heads up, it is an all quarterback finalist for me. And there were three quarterbacks that I mean really just stuck out for this award. Number three, I had Fernando Mendoza here. And it's not because I knew Fernando was going to be great, but he was a guy I'd kept my eye on. He was the backup option for my preseason for my surprise player of the year behind Dante Moore, who I ended up picking in the preseason. But I mean, do I need to explain it? Heisman Trophy winner, national champion quarterback, pretty surprising there. Um, but this one, these top two guys, I mean, just came out of nowhere. You got Drew Mestamaker as my number two, guy who was a backup in high school, didn't really even start, walks on at North Texas, and comes out red shirts last year and comes out this year and just is easily the most prolific passer in college football in that air raid offense. What he did was incredible. The stats don't lie for him. And now he's doing it in the Big 12 next year at Oklahoma State. Heads up, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like there's going to be a lot of hype around Oklahoma State on our show in next year's season preview
Yeah,
because we know good and dang well that all the pieces that are heading to Stillwater. So had to show him some love. But number one is a guy who, I mean, let's just say it like it is. I have a feeling he is number one on a certain other person's list here. Could be anybody. That's Trinidad Chambliss. Let's just say it like it is. Freaking who saw this coming at all? I don't think anybody saw this coming. Me and you spent the whole preseason talking about, man, you seen Austin Simmons? We're so hyped to see what Austin Simmons is going to do for Ole Miss. We've heard so much about him. And then they just got this backup that's a former Division II star at Ferris State. And whenever he came in and started, we were all just like, whoa, okay, this guy's so much better. Oh my God. And then we saw him in the biggest moments, and I wondered, well, okay, he's on the road to Georgia, or he's going to play in the playoff. This is where we're going to truly find out how good he is. And boy, oh boy, did we find out how good Trinidad Chambliss was in this postseason. Absolutely phenomenal. If it was his last year of college football, he made himself a heck of a lot of money in the NFL coming up in this draft. If it wasn't, I can't wait to see him next year. But he was clearing away the most surprising player, a guy that I know good and dang well. I didn't know his name really before the season, and absolutely was the number one player.
yeah. Good top three there. Myself, it's also all quarterbacks here with one slight tinge of difference. And that comes to number three. I had Devon Dampier at Utah
Oh,
as my number
he
three
was
guy.
fourth on my list, so I respect it.
My big thing with Devon Dampier was, like I said earlier, big Cam Rising guys here at the Bold Take podcast.
Hmm.
And once he wasn't going to come back, he was done with football. My wonder was, what does Utah look like in the official post Cam Rising era? Look, I know the last couple of years he'd been injured, not played a whole bunch, and so like I guess technically we've been post Cam Rising for a while, but it was official now.
Yeah,
It was a new direction. We weren't waiting for good news on Cam Rising to return. There is no other plan. You've got the guys you've got on the roster. Those are the guys that are going to play this year. And he really came out and had some explosive numbers, had an exciting season, looked really, really good, had our eyes glued to the television, and was, number 3 in a really good Big 12 this year. So looked really awesome, played really well. Really super exciting performance this season from Devon Dampier. At number 2, I went with Fernando Mendoza. Um, like you said, he was actually a guy that I kind of had my eye on a little bit. And that's because I played a Cal Dynasty last year. So I was in tune to the Jaden Ott and the Fernando Mendoza hype as these guys went off to do a little bit bigger things or attempt to do bigger things.
I was about to say attempt. I mean, who the heck even knows what Jaden Ott's doing nowadays? I don't know.
Was Jaden Ott actually even on Oklahoma this whole time? That would explain why I never saw his name in the box score. But on to another note. So I kind of had my eyes on Mendoza, but the thing that kind of lifts him into this list is, yeah, he was really good, much better than I would have expected. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh, because I knew who he was.
Right,
I knew he was going to have such a great season. But I thought that he would, it would be interesting to see him with Signetti. But the big thing that elevates it is you go out and you come out of nowhere and you don't just take this team to the national championship. You don't just win the national championship, but you come out of nowhere and you steal the Heisman from Arch Manning, who was hugely hyped at the beginning of the season. I mean, it just felt like we got to the Heisman ceremony compared to last year where it's the debate. No, it's Travis Hunter. No, it's Ashton Jeanty. And it's just the debate that goes on even now past the Heisman where I stand by. I think Ashton Jeanty should have won the Heisman.
Same here.
But this year, this is a no-brainer. We come into this year's Heisman, and it's like, yeah, Jeremiah Love had an awesome year. He's the best running back in college football. Yeah, Diego Pavia played some pretty good football. Julian Sayin, but
should have been another guy there. We could argue. We could argue.
We'll argue. The biggest argument was who should have been in 4th place. It wasn't Julian Sayin. But yeah, I mean, it was a no-brainer, and the votes reflected that. So for him to come out and not just win the national championship, not just win the Heisman, but to just dominantly steal the Heisman away from anyone else, from some big hyped names in college football. This is a huge move that I really respected, and that got him to number 2. But at number 1, everybody probably sees this coming. Like you said, somebody else has got this guy on his list. And look, I just can't even hide it. I was thinking of doing a fake out. No, I won't do a fake out because this is the real number 1 here. Trinidad Chambliss had an awesome season. Like you said, the talk was, what is Austin Simmons going to do? Such a hype prospect. He's already graduated from Ole Miss. Yeah. He's just playing football now. He's a super smart kid, super gifted athlete. And you wonder, look at what Jackson Dart was able to do with Lane Kiffin and over the time getting developed. And he's just been sitting behind that, slowly developing, learning. What's he going to do? He gets hurt, and we think, oh, snap, what are they going to do? Sure, D2 national champion on the bench, but he's a D2 national champion. Just because you win the national championship at Harding doesn't mean you're a national championship contender at Ole Miss in the SEC all of a sudden.
Right.
But he came out. He showed us what's it about. Immediately, I fell in love with this story. I thought it was an awesome, fun tale. It reminded me a lot of Cam Ward, but kind of a little bit different. Kind of the same vibe. Cam Ward was at Incarnate Ward, then Washington State, then Miami, and kind of had that same kind of miracle run over the last year. But if you're a Bull Take podcast listener, you know we were already in on the Cam Ward talk.
Oh, yeah.
This was way different. This was out of nowhere. Nobody's talking about this guy. And all of a sudden, he's the best quarterback in the SEC. He played that well. He was that good. He took Ole Miss on a run to the semifinal, this inches away from playing in a national championship and giving Indiana the fight of their life. But Trinidad Chambliss, I'm excited to see what happens in the future. Like you said, we're not really sure. Court rules one way. NCAA really doesn't have any power over the court, but they, I guess, probably could try to petition the Supreme Court. It's probably a lot more stuff to go before we know what happens with Trinidad Chambliss. But it'll probably be settled soon enough because you think about it, NFL draft coming up
Yep.
fairly soon. And
Combine's coming up at the end of the month. I mean, they're gonna have to make a decision
yeah,
here soon.
and the NCAA, here's the thing, they can't afford to stall and keep him from going and declaring for the draft.
Right.
Because if they don't let him play football and they keep him, they keep him past the deadline of declaring for the draft, then he has a huge lawsuit against the NCAA for keeping him from making millions of dollars, whether it be because he won't be able to play college football. He'll just sit out for a whole year of not playing
Yep.
football. Yeah, he'd have a huge case against the NCAA. So it's something they want to get figured out soon, obviously. But whatever's next for Trinidad Chambliss, I'm excited about. He quickly became one of my favorite players in college football, and he's certainly a guy I'm going to be rooting for in the future, wherever that may be. And so, obviously, if you couldn't tell, we both put him at number one. Trinidad Chambliss, the Bold Take Podcast surprise player of the year.
I mean, I just think back whenever we were in the preseason and we said people, I remember I said Dante Moore. I don't remember who you said, but it was people who were starting quarterbacks at the end of
Yeah.
the season and like stuff like that. But you look at it in past memory, I mean, Noah Fafita won the award whenever he came off the bench as a backup. And then you had Trinidad Chambliss coming off the bench. So really, if we need to look at our surprise player, Austin, we just need to go, well, who's got the best backup in college football? Let's see
Yeah.
here.
Or even better than that, the last 2 years has really been a testament to the Bold Take Podcast and a guy they really fall in love with early
Yep.
in the season, and they just can't stop
Mhm.
talking about. Last year's surprise player of the year, Cam Scadaboo,
Yeah.
and a guy you were really big on. Obviously, I liked him too, but you come on every week and we're talking about Cam Scadaboo, obviously. And what he did last season. It was kind of that same vein this year with me with Trinidad Chambliss. I was finding a way, itching to talk about how Trinidad Chambliss played the last week. So really what we need to do is figure out who's going to be the guy that we fall in love with in week 2
Right.
that's going to take over.
And just
If
go
there's
all
a
the way with it. Go all the
yes,
way with
if
it.
there's a science to figure out who we're going to fall in love with in week 1, 2, or 3, and then just root for that guy for the rest of the season. That's how you figure out who the Bull Take Podcast surprise player is going to be. Somebody we don't really know a whole bunch about, and then we fall in love with him, watching him play a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden it's all we can talk about and think about and do. But let's get into the Coach of the Year category. One that I fear is also not too competitive, but let's give a shout out to some of the other guys in this category before we talk about the obvious number one.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of guys. Again, for this award, there was multiple guys I considered. Ultimately, though, my top 3, I felt pretty confident in overall as a whole. I will say my 4th place one. Shout out Willie Fritz at Houston. He was on the edge of being on my list. He was probably number 4 on mine. But number 3, I had Clark Lee from Vanderbilt. Again, what this guy did, every time I see him, Austin, I just think back that opening year he's hired after being Notre Dame's DC. He comes into that SEC media day and he says, "I know in time Vanderbilt will be the best team in the SEC." And we all, I'm sure you did too. I know I did. We all were like, yeah, right, buddy. Okay, whatever. And then this year you looked at it like, wait a minute. He might actually have called his shot back then because it was a phenomenal year. And you know what? It changed the philosophy and changed the future of this program. Not only is it a great year and everything, stole the number 1 quarterback in the country away from Georgia, stealing Bama recruits, changing the future and what we thought of Vanderbilt prior to him getting there. That's mainly why I had him on my list. He changed what we believed Vanderbilt could be in this era of college football. And now they're a team that, I'll say like it is, as long as he's there, we're probably going to consistently talk about it as one of the top ones competing in the SEC year in and year out. Number 2,
Agreed.
had Tony Elliott here from Virginia. Again, this is a guy who entered the season about as red hot as several coaches who unfortunately had their seasons fall apart there. But he did a great job. He took advantage again of the ACC falling apart, and he said, well, let's come out and handle business. The true spark moment, obviously, the upset of Florida State on a Friday night, and then carrying all the way to the ACC championship where they lost, unfortunately, but bounced back with a win in the bowl game against Missouri. Double-digit win season. Again, I can't even remember the last time Virginia won double-digit games in a season, if they've ever done it. I mean,
Yeah.
I really can't think of it. But number 1, ladies and gentlemen, if you look up his name, it literally says at the top now, if you look up his name, yes, he won. And that's all it needs to be said. Kurt Signetti, easily the coach of the year. Yeah, it's not even a question at this point what this man has done. Um, Again, I'm not going to say he's the greatest coach ever because obviously he's got some competition with Nick Saban there, obviously. But when I think of a coach that created the greatest turnaround in the history, and I mean in the history of college athletics across any sport, when I think of it, I'm going to think of Kurt Signetti easily for the job he did in 2 years at the University of Indiana for them Hoosiers that are the national champions.
Yeah, I had some similarities here on my list. Some great guys, some great years. At number 3, I went with Brent Key at Georgia Tech. More about my Georgia Tech ramblings here. But kind of another guy that's kind of like a huge culture change for a university. And the things that he kind of does is he just brings in dogs, like we talked about with Haynes King. Not necessarily guys that are like top of their position. Well, their offensive line is pretty good. But not a lot of guys are necessarily top 10 in the position, but they play hard. They play the type of football Georgia Tech wants to play, and they play really well. And they were really competitive this season, reached some highs that Georgia Tech hasn't reached in some time this season. Obviously, the fall off at the end of the season kind of is why Brent Key kind of trails to my number 3 spot here. But at number 2, I went with Clark Lee. A little bit of a Notre Dame bias here, former Notre Dame defensive coordinator. But like you said, we came in, we didn't really think too much of what he was going to do, the things that he said, the promises that he made. And then last year they beat Alabama, and we say, whoa, what's going on here with this team? And then they come out and have a 10-win season this year, have an awesome performance. Like you said, Clark Lee's got this team trending in a different direction. It's got them looking exciting. And like you said, they look like a contender in the SEC year in and year out while Clark Lee is there. But at number 1, obviously, it's Kurt Signetti. This is the guy that has just been unbelievable in his first 2 years at Indiana. And because of that, that makes him the Bold Take Podcast back-to-back Coach of the Year winner. And just like that, the Bold Take Podcast Coach of the Year award will be forever named after Kurt Signetti. The Kurt Signetti Coach of the Year for 2 years in a row. Kurt Signetti.
Yeah, the Kurt Signetti Coach of the Year. I was just about to ask, didn't he win it last year? But you obviously answered it for me. So we're going to have to find a new coach to come up with the award because now it feels like we don't know if we can put him on there again because it's like, well, what do you mean he's the Coach of the Year again next year is what we're going to feel like. But then we say that, and then if he leads Indiana to another promising year, we're going to be like, okay, we'll put him on there just one more time. And then maybe we'll let him have a break. But that's another award named after we have obviously our big award at the end. We have the Ashton Jeanty Player of the Week. Now we got the Kurt Signetti Coach of the Year award. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a blast. Of course, I'd like to get more names on these awards. Almost decided to name the disappointing team of the year the Dabo Swinney disappointing team of the year. But Clemson has technically only won the award twice, so I won't put it on Dabo Swinney just yet, even though he's had some stinkers.
It's getting close. If it next year, it might be it. Who knows?
Yeah, Dabo Swinney is on disappointing team of the year award named after him. Watch if there is such a thing. Let's get into freshman of the year. This is another one of those awards where we kind of just read each other's minds. Really, with a lot of these, we have a lot of the same things. But this one is another one where we have the exact same 3 entries. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, same 3 guys. Again, we were both tempted to put Drew Mestemaker, but we did our research. We saw he was actually a redshirt freshman. So we wanted to go with guys that were stepping on the field truly and in their first season in college football. Number 3, had to go with Austin Hill's favorite, which I have a feeling is his number 1, but we'll wait and see. Caleb Hawkins, the running back from North Texas, I mean, just an incredible season. The man came out of nowhere. We spent so much time talking about Drew Mestemaker through the air. You look at the numbers, you're like, oh my gosh, we should be talking more about Caleb Hawkins. Thrived as a true freshman, 3-star recruit. And Austin, he's heading back to his hometown state now. He's heading to Stillwater where, man, oh man, he's got some expectations to live up to. Let's not forget how close we were to having an Oklahoma State running back win this award before. Who knows if he does something next year? Maybe he's up for that Michael Penix Award. Who knows? But number two is a guy again, and that I truly did not see coming. He was close to my surprise player of the list, but those top three guys really stuck out. Bear Bachmeier, the QB from BYU, a guy who, again, let's remember the whole fiasco at BYU with Jake Retzlaff getting kicked out, and Bear Bachmeier has to start as a true freshman. And I think it was so much so that me and you kind of were like, oh, starting a true freshman. Okay, maybe we don't get too hyped about BYU this year. Leads up to an 11-1 season, and is just one of the toughest quarterbacks in the that I've seen in college football in some time. Not afraid to run you over. He really showed that by wearing the number 47. I mean, how many quarterbacks you see him wearing number 47? So absolutely, I think he deserved credit. I can't wait to see what he does next year as he continues to develop and what he could be. I hope he sticks with 47 for his whole college career and then wears it in the NFL. I sure hope he does that.
Yeah, and how many quarterbacks do you see that are 250 pounds? I think you're ignoring the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I tried to say it without saying it, but I mean, let's just say it. The man's a beast. The man's a beast. It says it right in his name. When your first name is Bear, I mean, that's all that needs to be said for the beast. But number one, man, oh man, this is a guy who dominated, came out of nowhere from the jump, and really tried to take the throne from Jeremiah Smith for one of the top receivers in the country on one of the top teams, it felt like, in Malachi Toney. I can't wait to see similar to these guys. I can't wait to see how his development goes over the next couple of years. Big play after big play after big play all season long. It felt like we were talking about him every single week when Miami started the season red hot. We're like, Malachi Toney's just so freaking good. We're like, we can't wait to see what he's going to do for another 2 years here. So I think, to me, it was close between those three guys. All three of them are equally deserving to win this award. But I think number one for me is Malachi Toney. But any three of these guys could have taken home the award.
Yeah, I completely agree. And at number three, I've got Bear Bogmeyer. I think just the big thing that speaks out to me is, sure, maybe he's not your traditional quarterback, but I'm not so caught up on that. It's just how last minute this whole ordeal became. Retzlaff is thrown out a couple months before the season starts.
Yep. I remember I was at your house helping you move, I think, whenever we were talking about it. So
yeah, and Bear Bachmeier comes in to take the throne and just to have a phenomenal season, a team that was knocking on the door of a college football playoff berth. This is absolutely a well-deserved spot and an awesome performance. At number two, I went with Malachi Toney. He had an awesome season, made some awesome plays. And he can do it all. The return man, the receiver, the rusher. I think he even threw the ball a little bit this season. So he was really awesome. And like you said, it's going to be fun to see what he can do in the future. Reminds you a lot of his brother, Kadarius Toney. Something runs in those guys' veins. But yeah, very Tyreek Hill-esque.
I hope he can catch better than his brother, though. I hope he can catch better.
I know. He's a great gadget guy. And I already know you've got NFL teams thinking about, man, I'd love to get my hands on this guy because you can put him pretty much anywhere on the field and he's going to make an impact and he's going to find a way to hurt. But at number one, I went with Caleb Hawkins, the leading rushing touchdown scorer in college football as a true freshman, dominated in North Texas. Was one of the highly touted recruits in this transfer portal, but sticks with this coach, sticks with this quarterback, heads to Stillwater, goes home, and now Oklahoma State, a powerhouse, back on the map. That's my number one, freshman of the year. But the Bold Take Podcast, freshman of the year, after all things considered. Malachi Toney is the freshman of the year for the Bold Take Podcast, and well-deserved.
Again, Mike said all three of these guys equally could have won this award. All three equally could have. It was such a tight race, unlike last year. I mean, I really don't think, was last year really even that close? I think the top two were Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, but we both clearly picked Jeremiah Smith.
It was a 2-point differential, but that's because it's the most it could be. Jeremiah Smith got both of our first place votes, and Ryan Williams got both of our second place votes.
There you go. So I love it for him. Wide receivers, who's going to be the next freshman wide receiver next year to take over? Who's it going to be?
Yeah, no kidding. Then we've got the defensive player of the year here. Who are your top three defensive players of the year?
So, these are the three guys again. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I thought were the top three guys in defense all season long in college football. It really never was a discussion for me. Number three, David Bailey. Um, as I've learned when I was doing my research, I really didn't pay attention. Just did not know he was a Stanford transfer. I really did not know that he played at Stanford
I
last year. But
did not know that either.
he made the most of his one season in Lubbock where he helped lead and elevate this Texas Tech defense and led all Power Four players with 14 and a half sacks, was a problem every single game. And we saw for a reason in that college football playoff, even though they lost to Oregon, they kept on walking away saying, dude, this guy's so freaking good. I can't wait to see what he does in the NFL. Just like I can't wait to see this guy in the NFL. Number two on my spot, Reuben Bain. Look, Reuben Bain was easily, in my opinion, the best player, non linebacker position, truly non linebacker position in all of college football. Again, made an impact every single game. I kept hearing saying, "Oh, but he has short arms. You know, he's not going to be able to make an impact in the NFL." And I'm like, have you not watched the Notre Dame game? Did you not watch him in the college football playoff against supposedly the best teams in the college football? I'm so excited. We kind of hinted at we think he'd be a great fit in Tennessee under Robert Saleh if he did end up going there, and he's well worth it. But I thought about for this award, and I thought who really stuck out overall as like truly the best defensive player in this sport this year, and the most decorated defender in the country this year that took our hearts and really, if you think about it, should have been a Heisman finalist this year. Let's just say it like it is. That's Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech. First team All American, fifth in the Heisman, won the Bednarik, Butkus, Lombardi, and Nagurski trophies. A walk on at Texas Tech that was once a quarterback before and was the most touted linebacker in the entire country by far this year. But to me, these are easily the top three guys for Defensive Player of the Year. You can put them in any order you want, and it's a fair argument. But to me, it's not even close with these three guys.
Yeah, my top two guys very similar to you. But at number three, I wanted to give a little love to a Notre Dame man, Leonard Moore. Was
Hey, it's not a bad one.
probably the best corner in college football this year, in my opinion. Even though the Notre Dame defense was a little bit weaker than it's been in the last couple of years, he was still a force, still an island that you're not allowed to enter with Leonard Moore. But at number two, I won't linger on these guys too long. Reuben Bain was just an unbelievable talent this year, and he's going to be exciting in the NFL. Don't care how long his arms is. When he gets to your quarterback at will, he don't really need to have long arms. He's there. And then at number one, like you said, this is the best, most decorated defensive player in college football this year. Jacob Rodriguez was a force, should have been a Heisman finalist. Honestly, kind of criminal that he wasn't. He got more first place votes than Julian Saying, so I don't really know how that math checks out, in my opinion. But Jacob Rodriguez was just a force, and that allows him to be our Bold Take Podcast Defensive Player of the Year this season.
Hey, again, well deserved. Well deserved. I don't think we have matched this much on anything in quite some time, but
Yeah,
it tells you again, we clear and away thought about these guys, and we both agree just how dominant all these players, all these coaches, and these teams were this season. So absolutely deserved it. Really was him or Reuben Bain. It was just a matter of did we put them each in first place? We put them each in second. It really was what it came down to. But congrats to Jacob Rodriguez. He's earned it. Very curious where he goes in the NFL draft this year. I'm genuinely curious what team picks him up.
agreed. But that takes us just ever so closer to that time we've all been waiting for. But before that, we've got the stats, the analytics from how accurate we were this season with our game picks and our bet of the week. So to give us the records to tell us how good or bad, but probably bad, we did this season, Austin Wader, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have the results here. Again, now the question is, do we want to start with the good or do we want to start with the bad and get the bad out of the way?
That's tough. Let's start with the bad. Let's start with the bad.
Well, you can guess where we're going to start then. Let's head to the Bold Take Podcast College Football Bet of the Week records. Ladies and gentlemen, in our years since we started doing this, this was easily our worst season. We're not even going to sugarcoat it. This was easily our worst season. Had a combined record of 17 and 29 in our bet of the week records this year in college football. It was a disaster. Um, you had a record of 7 and 16 in the bet of the week.
Started.
And I was not that far ahead of you at 10 and 13. So it was a pretty close race. But I mean, is there really a winner here when we combine to go 17 and 29? Is there really a winner here?
No, but yes, I feel like more of a loser, if that makes sense. Maybe there's not a winner, but I feel like more of a loser, hearing that. Yeah, that's gutting. I thought I could at least eke out double digits.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? This is just means that guess what? Next year, we're going to be red hot. We're going to have a winning record
Yeah.
next year. We're going to come back here next year and we're going to have a combined winning records in our college football bets of the week. Please let me be
Hope-
right. So please let me be right. So I don't have to come back to this clip a year later and add it in going, man, what an idiot. Why did he say that? But
Yeah.
let's get to the good stuff, which was our official college football game pick records. Um, this is one that I was pleasantly surprised with because I thought I did pretty bad this year. But we actually both finished with winning records. I
Wow.
really didn't know if we were going to get it. A combined 117 and 107. So we we did
Wow.
we did really good. We did really good
Yeah.
this year for it. You, sir, had a 57 and 55 record when it came to game picks in college
Wow.
football this year, including all the bowl game picks and college football playoff national championship and regular season. I can't believe this. I was 60 and 52 this year.
Wow.
I don't even know. I honestly had to
Holy-
double check my math whenever I did. I was like, there's no way I got 60. And then I literally went through and counted my guys like, no, okay, that's right. So again, was it a rough year for our bets of the week? Yes, it was. But our game pick records delivered this year. So you just would have gone with money line picks for us this year on our game picks. You would have made money this season. But those are our bet of the week and game pick records for this 2025-2026 season.
Yeah, well, good to hear I was positive in something. Not so good to hear that I lost both. That's pretty gutting. But there's
I
always
gotta do
next year.
NFL here soon. I'll probably have it ready for our free agency special, and we can find out who at least got NFL. I tell you this, I feel really bad about my NFL bets of the week. I feel like I lost NFL bets of the week.
Yeah, I don't know. My bets of the week were just not on this year, so I'm not looking forward to anything. But let's swing it into the final segment of the Bold Take Podcast Award Show, where we take you to the Bold Take Podcast Michael Penix Jr. Bold Player of the Year. This is a fun segment here. This year we had a whopping 130 players eligible. That's
Oh my
20 more players than last year. But that's what happens when Ashton Ginty isn't taking up 2 spots on Player of the Week every single week.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because that is what happened. I have the Ashton Ginty numbers pulled up from last year.
Yeah, I gotta hear him again. It
it's
was
gonna
so
be-
bizarre.
We're gonna compare them here in just a moment. This year we had 45 players with double-digit votes, which is another huge margin for us here. Let's see here. On last year's awards, we had 40 players that got double digits. So 20 more players, and we still had 5 more players hit double
My
digits.
gosh.
That is pretty resounding there at the way we handed out points. And I will say last year we did especially near the end of the year, I handed out a lot of votes to try. I thought I was going to try and make it more even, but that ended up not being what happened. I thought I'd make it a contest, and it didn't make it a contest. But our top 10 players
Here we go.
Our 10th player has 42 points. Last year, our 10th player had 24 points.
Wow.
We didn't have a player hit the 40s until top 3 with Diego Pavia at 59.
Wow.
That tells you how much more evenly spread these votes are. Before I tell us who number 10 is, I forgot to say, when I came into this this morning, as I was finalizing where I was, all the votes that hadn't been accounted for yet, as I was getting in some of the votes we had put together, our top 4 was Diego Pavia at 1, Jeremiah Love at 2, Drew Mestamaker at 3, and Eli Heidenreich at 4. Eli Heidenreich fell all the way to 13.
Oh,
And
wow.
we'll hear from some of the other guys here in just a moment. But at number 10, with 42 votes and a one-time player of the week, out of UTSA, we have quarterback Owen McCown.
Hey. The son of NFL legend Josh McCown. Good to see him get some votes. Good to see him in the top 10.
I know. Also, this year, we had nobody get multiple player of the weeks.
Wow.
Which
no
was
wonder
not
it was so close. Yeah.
Last year. At number 9, we have a player with 43 votes. A one-time player of the week winner. Running back out of the University of Notre Dame. We've got Jeremiah Love.
Wow. That is much lower than I anticipated him being on this list.
From 2 to 9 is where
Wow.
he ended up falling.
Wow.
At number 8, actually really tied for 7th, we've got 2 quarterbacks, 44 votes apiece. One player of the week each. From Vandy, Diego Pavia,
Wow.
and from North Texas, Drew Mestamaker. So our 1, 2, and 3 fell to 7, 8, and 9.
Wow. Okay, that is insane, actually. Wow, that is crazy. That is 2 guys that I expected at the top here. But again, in a season where we really had no idea who was coming away with this award, I'm really not surprised it's been this chaotic so far. I legit have no idea who the rest of these guys are going to be. I have no clue.
At number 6, with 48 votes, no players of the week.
Wow. Okay.
Defensive end / edge / wherever you want to put him, Ruben Bain Jr.
Wow. Good to see Ruben get in there. Good to see him get a defensive players in here on the list. I love seeing it.
He made quite the run this morning. I think he started the day with like 7 points.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And he just way up.
Just shot up. At number 5, with 51 votes, one-time player of the week from Ole Miss, running back Kawan Lacey.
Wow, there's your man. He got top 5. He got top 5 for it. You love to see it. All right, man. Oh man. All right, this is just the beginning of the top 5 again. I got no freaking clue here. I got no freaking clue.
You have any guesses for our top 4? Our 4 we're sending to, not to Conway, I suppose. We're not sending them.
We're sending them. We're gonna do the award show at what's a nice place in Conway to take them for the award show?
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden. Yeah, we rented out the Olive Garden for the Bold Take Podcast Awards. I'm gonna guess, is Trinidad Chambliss one of them? I feel
Chambliss is in there.
Okay, I'm trying to. Is Fernando in there?
Fernando's in there.
Okay, that's 2. I feel like, is it very obvious ones, or is there like some wild card in here?
I think one of them is kind of a wild card. He's a guy who we talked about this season, but I would not have expected him to make this kind of jump.
Is it Jacob Rodriguez?
No, Jacob Rodriguez is sitting at 12.
Oh,
he did make a big jump today as well, but not quite that big. And then the other guy is, when you kind of think about it, and if you've been listening to the award show today, he makes sense for being up here.
I'm trying to think. I'm gonna take a guess at one more, and then I'll probably end it there. You already said Ruben Man. You already said him. You know what? I'm gonna guess is Malachi Tony on this list.
Malachi Tony is just outside the top 10 at 11.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna get. Why don't we just go ahead? So let's just break it all down. Who is our other two finalists heading to Olive Garden and Conway with Fernando and Trinidad?
Our other two finalists heading to Olive Garden, Devon Dampier and
Hey,
Caleb Hawkins.
yes. That is a legendary top four right there. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah,
I
it
love
was
that that's
fun.
the top four. Guys, put on your best suits and meet us at Olive Garden. We're going to have the greatest award show ever. But Austin, there's our top four. We just said them. We got to let the people know who
We
is
do.
joining the elite fraternity of past winners. I mean, let's think about it. Michael Penix. You had obviously let's think about it. So we had Penix the first year. Then it was Genty,
Genty.
obviously. Is it just those two? I'm trying to remember. It's only this is only the third
just
year,
two.
right?
Yep, just two.
Okay, that's what I thought. So who is going to join Michael Penix Jr. and Ashton Genty in this elite fraternity?
At number 4, with 53 votes, quarterback from Utah, Devon Dampier.
Hey, wow.
Pushed all the way up to number 4. What really helped him out was being number 1 on both of our lists for the bowl season players. He was both of our number ones. That was worth a whopping 40 votes.
All right. All
So
right.
that really lifted him up. And for anybody who maybe has an issue with my metrics, I used these same metrics last year, and we created a vote where we gave the fans a vote for who they wanted to get extra bonus votes. And first place was going to get 50 votes, which we did not do this year because we didn't need it. It was a close race. And Ashton Genty still won that. We'll talk about his number. So Ashton Genty got an extra 50 votes, and even if we took the 50 votes away, he would have stomped this competition.
That was
Just
dude. I don't think we're ever in the years we do this. I don't think we're ever going to have another season like Ashton Genty last year. Like I truly don't think we ever will.
And again, to say that I gave an opportunity for an extra 50 points would have helped second place catch up, who ended up being Camp Scattaboo, would have helped him. Camp Scattaboo would have had to get number 1 on the poll, and he would win the Player of the Year. And the people still chose Ashton Genty. So yeah, it was an unbelievable run he went on last year. But at number 3, we've got another quarterback with 65 votes. Out of Ole Miss, the surprise Player of the Year, Trinidad Chambliss clocks in with a bronze medal.
All right, got the bronze. Yeah, it is Olympics time, so we got to.
Yep.
You see, we have a prize for all 3 of the top 3 there. So wow. So I'm just trying to imagine. Let's imagine start of the year, Austin, and we're thinking about who we're going to have for this Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year award. And you had told me it's actually come down to Fernando Mendoza or Caleb Hawkins. I mean, it's wow. I have nothing else to say. Let's let the people know who is the 3rd annual Michael Penix Jr. Bold Take Podcast Player of the Year.
We have a first in Bold Take Podcast Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year history. Something we might not see again.
Oh, this is good.
For the first time, and maybe the only time, in Bold Take Podcast Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year history, the Heisman winner brings home a little bit more hardware. The most prestigious award in all of college football, Fernando Mendoza takes home the Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year award.
Oh my goodness. Wow. How close was it? How close?
Fernando Mendoza, 84 votes, one-time Player of the Week. Caleb Hawkins, 78 votes.
Wow.
One-time Player of the Week. Razor thin.
Wow. Yeah, truly the most Probably the most prolific season ever, Fernando Mendoza. I can't believe it. The player of the
Yeah.
year in the Heisman winner and is the player. We talked about in the preseason, we didn't want to have the same guy for the same award for those awards because it didn't seem right. But Fernando said, well, hold on, let me show y'all how it's done.
Yeah.
And takes home the award. I mean, you couldn't
Not
think of
to
a
rain,
guy who's earned it more. Couldn't think of a guy.
not to rain on Fernando's parade because he's had a phenomenal season. But just to flash back at last year's historic uh, Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year award. Ashton Genty, 173 votes.
Oh,
He nearly has 100 more votes than Fernando Mendoza, and a 4-time Player of the Week, and a 1-time Fan Player of the Year vote worth 50 votes. Subtract the 50 votes, and he still wins by 19 votes. And a little bit of credit to Cam Scadaboo, who collected 95 votes
hey,
last year, and 2 Players of the Week. Also,
my favorite running back, your favorite running back, both got in
yeah,
that top two. But that is a ridiculously wide margin.
yeah, unbelievable. It was almost 100 votes against Cam Scadaboo there. I remember that it was honestly. Let me see if I can track it down here because I have the first annual.
I know it
Some
was between. I think it was between Michael Penix and Ollie Gordon. I believe. I believe it was
it
between.
was, and I'm pretty sure that it was like literally one vote. Hold on, let me see here because, of course, now my Google Docs is acting like I've never used Google Docs before in my entire life. I had the other one pulled up, but now just for a trip down memory lane to see kind of where we were here. Okay, there's my top player of bowl season. That doesn't really help me.
Wow. But though again, I gotta say,
Here
what
it is.
what a what a story it is for Fernando. Again, he joins the elite fraternity. We got 2 quarterbacks and a running back. We got to get some more non-quarterbacks in there to join the fraternity next year, Austin. We gotta.
We do. We've got to have some other huge players. Here we are, pulled up. Oh, here's our that was our nominees. My goodness. Oh, was it really? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Even just to show the landslide and the way it's changed between this year and last year. We had like maybe 50 guys get nominated last
Wow.
year.
Yeah.
Um, no multiple player of the weeks. Michael Penix Jr. 55 votes, Ollie Gordon Jr. 54 votes, and Jaden Daniels 52 votes.
Hey, there we go. There we go.
Um, but yeah, it's been another historic year, another Bold Take podcast first, as the Heisman winner is also the Michael Penix Jr. Player of the Year, the most prestigious award in college athletics. But it's been another blast of a year in college football, another exciting year. And with the ever-changing landscape of college football, it looks like we've got a lot more exciting years to come in
Hey,
college football.
hey. Cheers to one next year. Same time next year.
Yes, same time next year is exactly right. But with all that being said, that's going to do it here for us at the Bold Take podcast. That is Austin Waiter. I'm Austin Hill, and we want to thank you for listening.